Welcome back to Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. I'm your host and three-time NWA World Champion Jeremy Vilmer, and joining us now is your host, Bobby Blaze.
Hey, Jeremy, thank you for welcoming me to the show. I appreciate it very much, my friend.
Oh, see, I figured you were going to call me on the NWA title thing.
Well, you know, just 3 times, I'm a little bit disappointed. I figured you'd be at least an 8 or a 9 time.
You know,
speaking of which, why do you bring up that NWA title? I'm just curious.
Well, I just bought a replica of the belt, and I figure if Billy Corgan hadn't bought the company, nobody would know I was an NWA champion.
Well, now they know.
Exactly. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything.
Well, you could be booked next week. You better be careful.
Oh, this is true. Oh, God. I better start getting in shape then.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Yeah.
But it's a nice-looking belt. I saw a picture of it, and I'm glad you brought it up. It's a beautiful-looking belt, man. And to me, did you have that? That's really cool, man. I'm really digging it.
Well,
really
I figured it'd be easier just to buy that than to wait for Jim Cornette to give us the Smoky Mountain tag titles.
That'll never happen. He's not departing with those.
I don't know why you would, but I'd sure like to have them. But that being said, perhaps I've said too much. Yeah.
Good week for you, man?
All things being considered, I've had worse. So how about you?
Well, you know, off the line, we know what's going on when we're talking. So, yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on. But, you know, we're going to keep it positive and uplifted here. I had a pretty good week because last Saturday I got to go to the Fan Fest for Bobby Fulton for his retirement show. Unfortunately, I didn't get to stay to the show for the actual wrestling portion of it. I was having some eye problems. My left eye sometimes is like looking through wax paper. And I don't know if that's from someone throwing powder in it, or people punching it, or just because I'm getting old as fuck. But nonetheless, I drove up, had a great time. I got to speak with Bobby. The only person I didn't get to see was Jim Cornette. He was coming a little bit later in the day, but I got to speak with, I'm going to get a few shout-outs and name dropping real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to speak with Bobby. That was great. Spoke with Shane Douglas. It's always nice to see Shane. He and I spoke. He talked how lucky we were to actually work on the tail end of the territory system. You know, we spoke, and we was actually beside each other on the tables, and that was really cool. Always good to see him. My buddy Tracy Smothers, got to see him for a little bit, talk to him. Barbarian, the Mass Superstar. I got to speak quite a bit with Kevin Sullivan. I always enjoy talking to Kevin. You can't walk away from talking to Kevin without learning something or picking up some piece of knowledge, and that's always great. I saved this name here for last because I hadn't seen him for about a year and a half, and it's Beautiful Bobby Eaton. Beautiful Bobby is one of my favorite people in the world, one of my favorite people in the wrestling business. You can never, I don't think you'd ever find anyone to say anything bad about Beautiful Bobby Eaton. And when I saw him, man, we gave each other a big hug and took a picture together, and I've got it saved right now. I haven't posted or anything, but it's always great to see Bobby Eaton, and he looked like he's doing really, really well. And it was just a good time. I got to see a couple of fans that I follow. They follow me. Demo Man from Demo Blast Studios came out. He's a photographer and does a podcast. I want to give him a quick shout out. And also William Harding came up. He came up from Lexington, Kentucky, and he's the one he escaped many years ago, the old ICW Bob Root Sugar Hole Challenge.
Yeah.
And so William and I are friends. In fact, I think he's down in Florida this week visiting with Bob Roop. But, it's the first time in over 30 years, I guess, they got to see each other. But so, yeah, I got to catch up with Demo Man and William Harding. And then also, like I said, some of those guys. I got to see Bill Dundee, got to speak to him. And I'm probably leaving a few people out. But, it was a really good time. And it's good just to keep my finger or my thumb on a pulse of the business, if you will. And so I just like to say, Bobby Fulton's a really, really good friend of mine, and I wish him nothing but continued success outside the ring. And I'm sure he has plenty of stuff. He has 2 boys. He'll keep his hands full outside the ring. But I wish Bobby nothing but continued success in his life because he's a really good person. So, Bobby Fulton, I love you, brother. And that's all I want to get some shout-outs there, Jeremy.
No, that's cool. That's great. It sounds like you had a fun time there.
I did. I just left before it got dark. That was my deal. I was a little bit leery about driving at night. I was only about 2 hours from home up in Ohio, but I left prior to knowing that it wouldn't get dark prior to my departure. I was just had a flare up, man, one of them things, and I thought, you know what, I'd rather leave with what I have in my pocket and get home safe than trying to leave, 11 or 12 at night and knowing that road sometimes gets foggy and also if that eye like it was, I just had to tap out and come on home. But from the time I got there to the time I left, I had a really, really good time. and see some good people and see some good friends and some good fans.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, because of today's theme, we were going to do the death of WCW, but I ran out of research time, so we're actually going to do the top 10 finishing holds. But because you bring up the sugar hold, people don't use it anymore, but can you give us a description on what it looked like or how the hold was applied?
It might be kind of hard on a podcast to describe it. Basically, if you take a guy, he's on his back, you have your left arm, depending which side you're coming from, but if you hook, it's going to be hard to describe this. If you hook your arm over top of say they're on their back, their right arm is down, you got your body weight on top of it, you slip your left arm underneath the back of their neck and reach across and grab their left tricep, pretty much. You don't have to grab it. You just put your hand under it. Once you do that, you can just use your body weight and lean forward. And it basically takes their neck and cranks it into their chest area. And obviously your right arm is pinned, if I'm doing it from the right side. Your right arm is pinned by my body weight. Your neck is secured underneath my arm, so you can't go back to the mat to bridge out. And as I push forward, and as I pull that left arm up underneath that tricep, again, it's applying pressure to both shoulders, but mostly also across that neck area to where, you're just literally being stretched. And it's a sweet hold, it's a sugar hold,
Mm-hmm.
Some people do grapevine to leg. You can put one leg under and over, grapevine to leg also. But really, if someone knows how to do it, it's very, very effective. Let's just say that, very effective. So maybe I didn't give it the best description of it. You can look it up online. If you see someone doing it right, you'll know. Believe me, you'll know if you've been putting a sugar hold. It's one of the earliest things I was taught, and luckily, I've used it just playing around with people in the ring, goofing, but never in a match did someone, put me in it to tap me out, nor did I do it to anyone else for that reason. And we didn't do any challenges either, for that. But yeah, once you're in it, you're pretty secure in the sugar hold. Maybe we'll have William Harding on here one day, and he can tell you how he got out of it. But yeah, it's quite the hold, man. It really is. And that's going to lead into what we talked about, our top 10 holds and finishes for this week's topic.
That's right. But did you want to discuss this real quick? Do you want to talk about Millie and Billie real quick before we get into the holds?
Oh, yeah, sure. Throw it out at me. Okay. What do you got?
Well, I just, I talked to you about it a little bit on Twitter one time, and then we talked on the phone about it. So back, I believe it's on your favorite Alice Cooper album, I'm pretty sure, but there's a song called Millie and Billie, and if I'm not mistaken, Bernie Taupin, the songwriting partner of Elton John, is actually one of the writers on this song.
Yeah.
So it's about a young couple who have been driving around in a 64 Olds with the young lady's ex-husband chopped up and sealed away in baggies. Now, I have heard this song a billion times, and then for some reason, a couple months ago, when I was listening to it, I just paid a lot of attention to the end, where he's calling out for her, and I could swear you hear a saw start up as he's calling for her. My theory is that she killed him just like they had done to her ex, I assume maybe even with the help of another new lover. But you had a different takeaway from it.
I did, and that's from the Inside, the Alice Cooper album that you mentioned. And my opinion of you really opened my eyes or actually my ears, I guess. I went back and listened to it several times as well. I like your theory. I really do. I'm not going to dispute your theory. And the only reason I have a different theory is this, because I was younger when I heard it the first time. When it first came out, I never really paid much attention to it as to what the meaning was, whatever. Then, and I was in college, I had a roommate. He played that album. Every Friday we'd play that album. And no, it was on 8-track back then. Yep. It was actually an album, so it was on 8-track. I didn't listen to an 8-track. But anyway, I always took it away that they just escaped. That's just the way you could hear them yelling, and then I didn't, hear the distinct saws or anything like that. He and I always just goofed on it on different parts of the songs, and I always just assumed that, they both escaped and got away. And then, whatever year it was, maybe around 94, I guess, when the movie Natural Born Killers came out, which has nothing to do with the album, and I'm rambling just a little bit, but I always figured if you watch the end of Natural Born Killers, and no spoiler alert, you see Mickey and Mallory driving away with their kids in a van, and I always just kind of thought, that's kind of what I always thought of the Millie and Billie deal. So I always just figured So for the last 25 years or so, I just thought, that's kind of way that I could see them being lovers, escaping from the asylum, and then, raising little crazy rugrats or what have you. But I will say I give credit to your theory as well. That's just my take on it. I've listened, I haven't caught anything that really changes my take, but it doesn't make me don't disbelieve your take. I certainly respect it. It's a funny ass song. And I was just, hell, like maybe they just got some other bodies, chopped up in the back of the car, driving around with their kids. I don't know. But that was just my take on it. It was fun, but. You can hear them out there in that darkness. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
But I guess everyone can take away from it what they will. But also, I saw that the name Bernie Tarpon. Also, when I went back, when you and I started back, okay, I know who that is. I didn't pay attention to that prior to that.
Yep.
So, but yeah.
Well, I guess back in '78, Bob Dylan called Alice Cooper one of the most underrated songwriters in the world.
Is that right?
Yeah, which is kind of high praise, when you figure that in there. I did a little bit of reading around just to see what I could find out about this song, and I could find fan theories about some things. Like, a lot of people are assuming that Millie and Billie were brother and sister, and that's why she's singing about their children growing inside her being all criminally insane. And yeah,
okay.
So there's some theories out there, but I couldn't find anybody else that really. I didn't put my theory out there, but I didn't find anybody else that had postulated that maybe what happened to Donald happened to Billy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I done just briefly. I thought, what? Maybe he's got something. So I looked and I done a brief search, but I didn't find anything either of spectacular. Make me change my views or opinion, but I certainly respect, what your theory is, so,
yeah.
But I guess I kind of like a happy ending. Two fucking crazies escaping and having crazy ass babies and riding around and maybe chopping up some other fucking people. I don't know. So,
make a good Rob Zombie film.
There you go.
All right. Okay, we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
I just wanted to discuss it with you because we hadn't really talked about it, so I just kind of want to get it out there.
Good.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go ahead, and this is following up, of course. This is our third episode. Episode number 2 was our top 10 world champions of all time. And I figured since I ran out of research time, we'd go ahead and follow suit, and we'll do top 10 finishers, holds and moves of all. Would you like to start with your number 10?
Sure. My number 10 comes in. I'm going with the sleeper hold. Not a lot of people use it nowadays, but at one time it's such a popular finish, an actual hold and a finish. And I'm putting that at number 10, and I have seen it work in real life. I've seen it applied. Way back in junior high school, I had a high school science teacher that put I was in 7th grade, he put a 9th grade football player in a variation of the sleeper hold and put him out. So, I was convinced then as a young wrestling fan, don't fuck with the sleeper hold. It's for real. Cause Mr. Howell puts it on you, you're going out. So I figured them guys on TV put someone on a sleeper hold, they're going out. That's my number 10.
Yeah, that's a good one. I did not even think to include the sleeper, and I'm sorry they didn't. My number 10 is Stan Hansen's lariat.
Oh,
because that sucker looked like it'd knock a head off.
Well, from what I hear, and I never took one from what I hear, it did knock heads off.
Yeah, I think the fact that Stan Hansen couldn't see real well and swung for the fences when he threw that one, it probably did knock a head off.
Yeah,
but
I've heard firsthand. I've heard several guys tell me.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what though, in Japan, when you watch guys use the lariat as a finisher, it always looks like it hits hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I hate clotheslines when I watch shows, and I used to always say whenever I ran shows and stuff, unless your name is Stan Hansen, don't fucking throw a clothesline. Because I figure having been to Japan, I agree with you. I like the lariat, and I like when those guys take their fucking head off. That's what it's meant to do. And when you see it done properly, that's a good choice for your top 10. I like it. The lariat. Yes.
I thought that one worked pretty well.
Sure.
I'll do my number 9 now. And this one I'm going to preface a little bit by saying I am specifically talking about Chris Adams, but the super kick that Chris Adams would throw. We talked about this a little bit. I don't like the saying where 95 super kicks land in a match because nobody ever stood up for Chris Adams' super kick.
Right. Right.
But back then, not everybody knew how to throw a kick. It looked new. It looked different. And I could never tell if he was slapping himself to get that sound to hit. A lot of guys now, you actually see them pop their own leg when they do it.
I don't know that Chris Adams never done that.
Yeah.
Really, I don't. He had a very beautiful super kick. Very beautiful super kick. That's a good choice. I don't think he slapped his leg. Maybe he did, but if he did, it was he hit it well, because I think he actually threw. And having worked with Chris a couple of times, I don't think he did. I just think he threw a beautiful, beautiful super kick. Good choice. Good choice. And like you said, people didn't get up from it. That's the thing. It was a finisher. When he put the super kick on you, bam, you took it, you went down. That's it. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it was a knockout move. What'd you get for number 9?
I put the Boston Crab in there.
Oh, very
I had the
nice.
Boston Crab. Yeah, I like that. Just old school, you see them guys sitting, and especially if someone locks it in really good. A lot of pressure on that lower back can be used, middle of the ring. The guy has to fight to get out of it, or he taps out. It's just one of those things that I really like, the Boston Crab, and that's my number 9.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a high drama move too.
Sure.
Yeah.
You ready for number 8?
Yep. What you got for number 8?
The abdominal stretch.
Oh, nice one.
I love the abdominal stretch, especially if a guy's coming off the ropes and you hook them into it. And I was refereeing a match in Florida. I have to tell a story very briefly. Mm-hmm. Louis Estrella was wrestling, a friend of mine named Rico, and I had a choice to either wrestle that night and make $25 or set the ring up and referee. And I got $35 for setting the ring up and $35 for referee. And so I thought, fuck, I could do simple math. $70 is much better than $25. Yeah. So I got the referee, and Louis Estrella, Rico had the abdominal stretch on him, and my brother would kill me if I didn't tell a story. And Louis was a Hispanic descent, Cuban if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, he was going, oh my God, Bobby, my insides. And I'd go around, and of course Rico would be holding the ropes, and I'd be doing the old gimmick where I didn't catch him. And every time Louis was selling, he was doing the just his normal accent, but he was like, he's ripping my insides out, Bobby. My God, help me. And I said, what has he got you in? What has he got? He's got me in the abdominal stretch. Oh my God. And then I'd get the office, check the ropes, and I'd go, he's not doing it, and he'd be selling. It was just really, but back to I like the abdominal stretch, and that's my number 8. And I just had a really fun experience, a referee in a match where two guys that could actually work and had a referee that knew what the fuck he was doing. We had, 15, 20-minute match, and it was a blast to be in there, and about probably 8 of it was all because of an abdominal stretch.
That's amazing.
And that's my number 8, abdominal stretch.
All right. My number 8 is the Scorpion Deathlock.
Oh, man. Scorpion.
Well, and back in the days, when Bret Hart used it and Sting used it, it had been around in Japan for a little while, but unless you were really into the move, you couldn't even figure out how they put him in it. You're like, now, wait a minute, where's that leg coming from? Where's that damn thing going? Oh, God, he's got him in a Boston Crab on top of that. And it just looked amazing.
I didn't even have it on it, but you know what? I still don't think I know how to do that move. That's, excellent. The Scorpion Deathlock. Is that what you said?
Scorpion Deathlock, yeah, because it's a little bit Indian Deathlock, a little bit Boston Crab.
Yeah, good choice. I like it.
Yeah. Now, my number 7, I've got a tag team move down here, and it's the Road Warriors Doomsday Device, where he'd stand him up hold the guy on his shoulders, and the other guy would come off the top rope with the clothesline.
Right.
Just because it looked like whoever got that was going to die. It was just one of the most devastating looking moves you'd ever seen. And when they finished, granted, the Road Warriors were a monster heel style team, and they just ran everybody over. This just added to the you just got run over.
Having seen that firsthand in person, I really thought guys were going to die sometimes when I saw them take it. I was at a WWF back in the day, TV taping. I'd done about 8 or 10 of them back in the day. And I remember exactly where it's at, was in Dayton, Ohio. And they'd done 2 shows on this particular loop, was 3 shows, but was up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Dayton, Ohio, started in Huntington, West Virginia. Nonetheless, the one guy, they picked this guy up, man. I think he's in Boston, big, tall, redheaded guy, and the animal hooked underneath, lifted him up, hawked him up, and this fucking guy, they dropped him right on his head. He was a big old boy, too, and I thought he done broke his fucking neck. I've seen him do it to where, guys do land, flat. But yeah, that's nice. No, it's not. Never mind. I don't want to take it. Put it that way. Yeah. I would not want to be on the receiving end of that. And thankfully, I never was, because that's a devastating hold and move. Cool. My next one is the camel clutch. That comes in at number, 7 for me? The camel clutch.
7.
And, people might call it the Steiner recliner. I've been in that, but it's a bit different. I just like the camel clutch is what I call it. Just out of respect for the Sheik. Yeah, Sheiky baby.
Yeah. Well, and he won the world title with that hold.
Exactly. And if it wasn't for a Sheik, there would be no Hulk Hogan.
That's right. And the Sheik had a chance to do one dirty on Vince and take the world title of the AWA, and the Sheik went to the boss and said, hey, here's what Vern wants me to do, and I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I think he done the right thing. Stayed with business only,
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's never a good payday for anybody in doing dirty shit. It never pays off. It will always catch you in. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You want to follow up with your number 6?
Number 6, I'm real biased. I'm going to be real biased on it. It's the Northern Light Suplex.
There you go. That's a nice one.
I put that in there. Dean Malenko, I was at a show. I was doing a guest announcing for Suncoast Pro Wrestling. I had worked earlier in the match, on the matches rather, the TV taping. And Dean pulled this out on a guy about 6'8", about 300 pounds. And it was just like, I popped out my steel. Oh, my God, Northern Light Suplex, because I didn't know he could do it to someone that big, and he did. And I think Hiro Hase is the one in Japan that blessed Dean and said, you can use this also while I was there. And so I bugged Dean until I drove him crazy all the way home that night. We was in Sarasota all the way back to Tampa. I was like, Dean, you got to show me. And so we got to the gym that was like a Saturday, so the following Tuesday or Wednesday of training, and he started teaching me the basics of it. And of course, I started using it in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I had used it some, but not anywhere on national TV or regional TV, I guess, at the time. And I remember when I'd done it to the Stro, who was Robbie Eagle at the time, and Cornette was being the heel commissioner, and he actually broke character when I watched the playback because I went over with it carrying that junior heavyweight title, and I did the Northern Light Suplex, and Cornette broke character, and he goes, and Bobby Blaze went with a Northern Light Suplex. And he kind of jumped up from the table, and he popped for it. But yeah, I think it's a beautifully executed when it's done right, and you put the bridge into it, and you arch your back just right, and you lay the guy out smooth. I love the Northern Light Suplex, so I had to put that in there. So I'm very biased on it, but that's what I'm putting in there.
Now it's an amazing looking move, like you said, especially when it's executed perfectly, like Dean Malenko did every move.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever seen. I'm gonna have to go do some Google searching tonight and see if I can find a match or anything where you do. I don't think I've seen it, but yeah, it's just an incredible looking move when it powers off like that. Really cool. That's a good choice. I didn't even think.
Yeah.
Well, my number 6 is the power bomb.
Okay.
Which gets used a lot now, even by smaller guys. But back, in the olden days, there were a small handful of big guys who worked Japan and brought this back. I think Terry Gordy used one occasionally.
Yes.
Vader used one, and when Vader did it, people died. There was.
Well, I'm going to jump ahead of mine. I had the power bomb listed as number 4. So I'll go ahead and just add my 2 cents for that if you don't care. Then.
Sure, yeah, go right ahead.
But yeah, the power bomb, I agree everyone does it now, but at one time it wasn't used that much. And probably one of the first times I saw it was on some old tapes when I was at Malenko's, and they had some VHS tapes, and I saw Terry Gordy doing it. And I was like, holy cow, look at that. He's just killing these Japanese guys, man. He's just fucking killing them. And, it's maybe used too much now, but at one point, when people just used it, and that was the finish. And some of those Japanese guys, I know when I was over at Jinsei, when I worked with him, he done it. We had 2 different finishes we'd go into depending on how well I took the power bomb, or if I'd take the pin, or he rolled me into a submission afterwards. And it's just, if it's done correctly and you get the guy up real nice, you lay him out nice and flat, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. But when I first saw it, Gordy was one of the earlier ones that I saw using it as well. But like you said, a guy like Vader or someone gets out of fucking control with that, they're dead.
Yeah, that's just
So yeah, I had that listed as number 4 on mine.
Yeah,
so
well, that's a good number 4.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and lead into number 5 because I went with the figure 4 leg lock.
Okay.
And I think everybody does now, but I still have my I broke Wahoo's leg shirt.
Oh,
and
nice.
when you tell people, you're like, look, Greg Valentine, they had to send Wahoo somewhere else, Greg Valentine, quote unquote, broke his leg using the figure 4. Even non-wrestlers like, oh, the figure 4, I know that one, you know.
Yeah, I think everyone knows that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Flair had a perfect one. It just, you know, when somebody does the figure 4 correctly, you're just looking at him thinking he's going to break that dude's leg. There's no way out of this.
I agree.
Yeah.
I go back one. I had the DDT, is what I skipped over when I went to the power bomb. I just went to the DDT.
Oh, sure.
So we just kind of pass over that one there. And then, we went over to power bomb, and now you're at the figure 4. I had the figure 4 listed as my number 2. Okay.
Well, that's a good
so
one.
that's why I wanted to blend in there with you. Yeah, I agree with you. When you see that figure 4, man, and most people, like, you know, you do a name association and say professional wrestling, and people do certain things. They'll say, like, you know, Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair or what have you. Figure 4 is one of those things that is one of those if you're not even a wrestling fan, oh, you know the figure 4. You know, they know what the hell you're talking about when you say a figure 4. They may not know how to apply it, or they may not know exactly what it is, but they know they know the name of the figure 4 leg lock.
Yep.
And when, like you said, when like Flair, for example, when someone puts it on you and you see them lock that on, you just know some motherfucker getting their leg snapped, you know. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful when executed correctly.
Well, and there's a lot of finishers now that you don't understand what they would do to put somebody out or make them tap or whatever. The figure 4 is not one, because you're looking at it going, okay, so both knees are under attack, that hip's under attack. This guy's got nothing in his favor right now. And if he gets tired of fighting and lays down, he'll get 3 counted.
Right.
So that was always one that I thought. Well, do you want to comment a little bit about the DDT since you've got that as your number 5?
I was just going to say, basically, to me, it's a beautiful move, especially when you snap into it like Jake Roberts did. He had always hooked a guy, and that's just who comes to mind. I know Ron Starr, when I worked with him up in Canada, he had worked out in Kansas City some, and he was an old timer, and he was, you know, he always used that as well, and he made it look so beautiful. Of course, that was on a regional basis, and every night when he snapped that DDT, when it was just beautiful. And when he done it, it was, you know, at the time. There was a time, and I guess they still try to an extent, when someone does a move on especially like WWE now, when you have a finishing hold, no one else does it on the whole fucking card, you know. Yeah. So that way, when Jake Roberts is out there and he gives a signal and he hooks that, you know it's coming. You know, the short clothesline, boom, DDT. The person is not kicking out of it, you know. So when it's executed, it's one of the things, when it's executed perfectly, you're just driving a fucking guy's head straight through the mat. I mean, even he done Ricky Steamboat, he done him. He begged him, Rick, you don't want me to do this, I guess. I don't know how he, worded it, but, you don't want me to do this. And he did it outside on the concrete. You know, it's a devastating hold. And if a guy is even charging you, in a street fight, not that I want to be in one or encourage people to go out and put this on him, but if a guy's head's, right there around your waist and you lock around his front face right there and you just drop straight back, I mean, you're laying on your back, sure, but, man, you're grinding a fucking guy's head and neck straight down into the concrete or asphalt or whatever. And Buddy Landau done me one night in Knoxville, and I had a stinger. I mean, he was taking care of me. He wasn't trying to intentionally hurt me, nothing like that. But I had my hand out, and, a little bit of my head was peeking through just enough that when we hit, bam, man, I had a stinger all the rest of the night, So I can imagine if my head had been sticking through any further, how much damage could have been done, So I know it's a devastating hold. And like I said, I go back to the name association of Jake Roberts. When you saw a guy like that set it up and something like that's coming, then the fans, they anticipate it, and there it is. And when it's executed, boom, and you say, oh, there's the finish. That's what you work for, So that's, to me, it's just a very devastating finishing move.
It really is a nasty, nasty move. I do have that on my list, but I'll make my comments when we get to that number.
Sure.
Did you want to do your number 4?
Well, I had Powerbomb as number 4.
That's right.
That's why I skipped DDT. I had Powerbomb as number 4.
I forgot to write it down when you said it, though. Well, my number 4 is the pile driver.
Okay.
And the pile driver is a devastating move. We've seen it done on floors. We've seen spike pile drivers. We've had federations outlaw them. They cause cancer.
Oh, man.
It is. I remember the first time I really saw a good pile driver, Paul Orndorff on Hulk Hogan when he turned on.
Yeah, there you go.
And you're just like, oh my God, look at that. And it was also my first major heel turn.
Okay.
That I saw as a fan. The first one that I like was, not like a little kid enough that, it's just dudes beating each other up, but like, oh my God, that guy's tag team partner just shanghaied him completely.
Yeah.
And so it always left a nice, impression on me. Is just like, what a devastating thing. And you know what? It's funny to me that Paul Orndorff's setup for the pile driver was often a short arm clothesline as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was my number 4, and you had the power bomb.
Yes.
All right. So,
my number 2 was the figure 4 leg lock that we went over.
Hold on. What do we have for number 3 for?
Well, that's why I was going to go. I'm going to back up. I just want to let you know while you're writing that down. I want to let you know. So after the power bomb at number 4, I had already skipped to number 2, the figure 4, to go ahead and add my 2 cents worth for that. So my number 3 is the German suplex. I always just thought that was such a beautiful move when a guy got behind you and just could do that arch, you thrust those hips. And I didn't like the release one as well as I did the one where they held on and took them straight back and over. And there was a picture at Malenko's, and it was of Karl Gotch doing a big Japanese guy, and it was just whoever took the picture was just picture fucking perfect. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. And I've seen it in magazines, I've seen it done, and it's just one of those things that I think is just a work of beauty when you get behind a guy, especially 2 bigger guys, and you just get underneath around his waist, underneath his hips, and thrust and arch, and then you both hit, and you're right there, and his shoulders are pinned. And I don't like him kicking out. I don't like the release. I like it as a finish. You pick them up, drop them straight back, boom, 1, 2, 3, the German suplex, and that was my number 3 pick right there.
Yeah, you know what else I liked about a standard German suplex into a pin? Was you could set up a real dirty ending with it too, where the guy that got suplex gets his shoulder up. So you could have a match that just goes all out, and the guy does a bridging German suplex, and then the guy who took the suplex wins the match. That's one of the things I always loved about that movie. Yeah, it looks amazing, but the storytelling potential was so high with that one.
Oh yeah. And then you also could have the heel run in, because the guy's he's arched, he's back, the manager can come in. There's so many different things, of course, with the finish, but yeah, you're kind of at that blind spot, like you said. The guy that puts it on can actually be more vulnerable than the one that took it. Yeah. And also, if you're trying to keep a guy strong and the guy's finish is the German suplex, watch out for it. You can still do the 1, 2, 3, but barely kick out right when he says 3, and you keep the guy strong. Okay, yeah. You got beat by the guy with the better move tonight, but you almost kicked out of it. So there's a lot of possibilities with it. So I had that as number 3.
Yeah, that's a great one. My number 3 is the DDT, which we covered a little bit.
Cool.
But I did save this story just because I wanted to tell it. I did see a guy get DDT'd into gravel one time when I was in high school.
Oh, God.
It was nasty. It's like, Bobby, do you remember the first time you ever actually heard somebody punch somebody else, and it just sounds like pieces of meat slapping together, and you just kind of it's like a little bit gross that first time?
Yes.
Okay, so the first time I saw somebody actually drop somebody else with it was a big, heavy guy dropping a slightly smaller guy with it, and it was right into gravel in a parking lot, and dude came up and he had shit buried in his forehead.
Oh, God.
And was starting to get a little bloody, and you just kind of look, and you're just kind of like, oh, that's disgusting.
So I guess that fight was over at that point.
Yeah, that pretty much did that one in. That guy took like 2 more kicks to the ribs, and that's all it took.
Oh, man. Yeah. Like I said, it can be as real as you can make it.
Exactly.
You get that guy's head like fucking then on gravel. Ouch.
Yep. It's all bad at that point.
Oh,
do you mind if I do my number 2?
Please do. Because I've already went through mine except for my number 1. So do your number 2.
So my number 2 is the Tiger Driver 91 by Misawa, which is a nasty, nasty, nasty where you land on your shoulders, the back of your neck, and the back of your head driver. And there are moves, Bobby, and I'm going to ask you about this kind of thing when we get done. I see some people catch these moves, and I just think there is no way a sane person would go, hey, you're taking this move tonight. You got it, boss. I'm all over it, because you're going to die if you get hit like this. And the Tiger Driver, I don't think it looks safe at all. For all I know, it might have damaged somebody, but I'll tell you what, it looked realistic as hell.
Refresh my memory as to how if this is exactly what I'm thinking of. How when are you behind the guy and Is he in a full Nelson? Are you talking about Dragon driver or?
Well, it's I'm gonna try to. It is in a like a chicken wing. Like if you're gonna do a chicken wing pile driver on somebody, you start with that, and then you lift them, and then you basically power bomb them onto the back of their neck, their shoulders, back of the neck, and back of the head. So I mean, it's like a spike drop almost.
Yes. Okay. I've seen it. I didn't even think about that one. I was thinking about the Dragon suplex. Excuse me, where the guy has him with a full Nelson and takes him back into a German suplex. There's a little protection on that as well. So on this Tiger driver, the guy's facing. Which way is his facing? He's going straight down into the mat. Is that where he's pretty much his chin is on his chest and has nowhere else to go, correct?
Pretty much,
straight down?
Yeah, it's pretty much straight down, and I guess you got to keep as tough high as you can, I imagine, with your head. Otherwise, you're going to break your neck.
Yeah.
It's nasty looking.
Yeah, I think I've seen it. I'm trying to picture it in my head, but so you're being spiked down, though, but it's way up on your upper back, if I'm not correct.
Yes.
If I'm correct, on your upper back and shoulders.
Yep, that's where it is.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, well, that leads me to my number one. Do you have anything else to say about it?
No. I just wanted to say it was nasty looking. I've got a question for you when we get done with our countdown, though, about something along those.
Well, my number one was going to be, this was lead into, was the pile driver. So I didn't speak up. I caught your the cancer statement. My recollection of it goes back a little bit further than I thought Orndorff, I put it in my book even. And my top 10, just so you know, can be found in, I kicked out on The Education Wrestler. It's in there. I just kind of took my whole list and expanded upon it in one of the chapters. But the pile driver, I put Orndorff over as having a great pile driver. And he done that jumping pile driver.
Yep.
And it was tremendous. The other one I listed was, of course, with Jerry Lawler, because I got to see that early on. So I actually saw it before, Orndorff's when you was talking about, because, Lawler had used it, for several years in the old Memphis territory. So I got to see it. And of course he applied it to, they outlawed it. I love that because it's so fucking dangerous, to have to outlaw it, And one of the best though, was when Randy Savage, gave the pile driver to Ricky Morton through a table. And the table I don't think was supposed to give. It was not gimmicked or anything like that, but it was just so realistic. You got the Macho Man Randy Savage up there, fucking Ricky Morton. And I love Ricky Morton to death, man. You talk one of the best sellers. He didn't have to fucking sell that night. They went through that table, and my God, it was wild to see because the believability factor didn't need to be added in. It was already there. And then, like I said, just having grown up on the Memphis territory with Lawler doing it and having outlawed, I just really think, and the one you just described sound dangerous as fuck, and I'm picturing in my head, I know I've probably seen pictures of it, but the pile driver to me, man, you put a guy's head between your legs and like Orndorff jumped and stuff, you're taking, you're putting a guy at risk in the ring professionally. But, if a guy's, like you said, go back to that DDT that you saw, you got a guy's head between your crotch like that, you lift him up and go straight down for your body weight. You're spiking the guy's neck with all of his weight behind him, coming straight down. It can be so devastating. So that's my number one is the pile driver.
Yeah, that's a great one. If the move I'm going to name as my number one weren't in my list, I'd have to reorganize the whole. Because the way I do things, like I set things up in pairs. So I'll take like any two of the moves I have, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'll go, okay, out of these two, which one's my favorite? That one moves on. And instead of trying to pick out of 10, I just go back to 2s and then I sort from there.
Okay.
That way, because the human brain's better at yes and no than it is pick one of 5.
Okay.
So mine is the diamond cutter. Specifically, I'm calling it the diamond cutter and not the ace driver or the RKO or anything else, because I think this move really came into its own with Diamond Dallas Page using it, and he could hit anybody from anywhere with it at any point. And WCW did such a good job training the audience to realize that when he hits you, you're done. Nobody's kicking out, nobody's getting away, and he can be getting his ass kicked and still grab you and hit you with it.
I agree 100%. I used that in Japan on all the younger boys. That was a finish I used for them. Mm-hmm. just kind of give them a good easy bump to take, and you're trying to bring them along, bring them along the way for you. I agree with you. I didn't have it on my list, but I like that you used the actual name, the diamond cutter, instead of RKO or anything else. The thing about a good finishing move or hold like that you mentioned, that whether you're a casual fan or a hardcore fan or one of the boys, is you want to do a move that you can do on anyone at any given time, and that there is one. What you said, that the diamond cutter, it can just come out of anywhere. That's the good thing about it. And it can be done on an opponent of any size. And like you said, they actually, that's something WCW did get right when they promote something like that. You got to get the emphasis over that this move is a devastating move. So good choice, man. I liked your top 10. I really dig it, man. I had forgotten all about the diamond cutter, but that's a good one. Fuck, real good.
Well, it. I should have, there's two moves in yours right off the top. I should have gone. There's no reason the Boston Crab should have been left out of mine, or the abdominal stretch. I used to love that move. Honestly, with the Boston Crab, so many moves are born out of that. The Scorpion Deathlock, the Camel Clutch is kind of like a reverse double upside down. It really is, and it's one of the founding submission hold of pro wrestling, really.
Well, that's what I was going to say when you said it. It just struck a chord with me. You said that about the Boston Crab. That's kind of one of the older, traditional type moves, but that also shows the evolution of the business as you went through to what you saw. Like there's the diamond cutter. You know what I'm saying? It's something that become just a good transition from, what used to be, you could do a rest hold out of the abdominal stretch. Of course, you could turn that into the guillotine, but the Boston Crab, you can sit there, you get that rest hold, you can get that arch, you can get, you're in putting a pain on a guy, but it also shows the pace of the matches, the change through the years. A lot of guys don't use that in the middle of the ring anymore, because you can go to something like, when you're talking about like a diamond cutter, you can go from whatever spot you're doing, wherever you're at, and out of nowhere you hit them with it, boom, and it's over 1, 2, 3. So it's it kind of just shows the even though we had a couple different moves on there, everything we talked about they all had they're very effective when done properly, and that's what made the believability. I don't think there's one move on there. You can go back to the sleeper and you say, is he really asleep or whatever? They make a mockery of it or sometime at some point. But for the most part, all those moves we talked about, probably about 14 of them, maybe I had a couple, you had a couple extra, 14, 15 moves. All are very devastating holds and moves and just stuff that look very realistic, that makes the believability in the match that you're watching. It takes you that suspended belief for a moment. You say, oh shit, that guy just got beat, man. And here's why. Here's how. Did you see how he got beat? You believed it. Everything was devastating that we talked about. And if it wasn't devastating, like, out of nowhere, like the diamond cutter, you knew the guy was going to tap out because he had that figure 4 on him. Or if he didn't pass out, he's going to fall, or tap out, rather, he's going to fall back and take the 3 count, like you mentioned, because the pain was so excruciating, but his pride wouldn't let him tap, and he just rolled back 1, 2, 3. He still got beat,
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. I think we had a great list, and I hope our listeners enjoyed, hearing our top 10 professional wrestling moves and holds.
Well, and if anybody out there wants to contact us on Twitter, Bobby, why don't you throw them our Twitter handles, Rick?
Yeah, our Twitter handle, we can go to Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze, at Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. You can always use the hashtag BBBB, blend in, let us know what you think. Your top 10. Give us your top 2 or 3 if you want. You can reach Jeremy at the Geekish Cast, and you can reach me at Bobby Blaze 744 on Twitter. So again, that's Jeremy. He's at the Geekish Cast on Twitter. I'm at Bobby Blaze 744, or also you can get our page, our Twitter page, Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze, using the hashtag BBBB. Tell us what you think are your top 1, 2, 3, 10, or 20, and make them realistic. Be honest. Tell us what you think. Did you like Jeremy's list? You like my list? You like our combined list? Let us know one of your experiences. Jeremy told a great story about someone getting a DDT in a street fight, and I'm not encouraging anyone to go out there and fight or get yourself in a DDT, but hell, let us know. Did you see someone? I saw someone in 7th grade get the fucking sleeper hold put on them, a teacher done it. He was an old World War II veteran and put a student out, so share a story with us. Let us know, let us know if you think the pile driver or the diamond cutter, or what your favorite is, and reach us at Bobby Blaze 744, at the Geekish Cast, or Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. Use the hashtag BBBB.
Yeah, and actually the other Twitter there is Bell to Bell Blaze, at Bell to Bell Blaze.
Yeah,
that's all right. We just got to get used to saying it. So, Bobby, I got to ask, was there ever a move that would have been an absolute deal breaker for you? You've just been like, I'm not taking it. Was there ever one of those out there?
Oh man. Well, honestly, I would not have wanted to take, and you mentioned it, was when, I don't even know, when the Road Warriors picked you up on the shoulder, what'd you call that?
Doomsday device.
The Doomsday. I wasn't a fan of that. I saw people taking it in person. I mean, I saw it as a fan first, and then I saw it in the back as one of the boys on the monitor. I just wasn't a fan of that. I wouldn't say it'd be a deal breaker. I would just hope they would take care of me, because I know you're doing, you're getting it, you're taking a backflip, you're landing, but hell, I don't know. Would it be a deal breaker? I wouldn't want to take it. I didn't want to, there's several things, sometimes you don't want to do and you end up doing them anyway. I took a power bomb off the fucking top rope, but I trusted Chris Candido 4 fucking nights in a row to do that. So I would just like to think, one professional to another professional, giving each other professional courtesy, that had I been put into the Doomsday device, that I would have been taken care of. But there wasn't any really one particular, hold or move that I saw that I didn't want to. Like even the Razor's Edge, when he picked guys up, all I would like to do is be laid out flat. Having experienced one person that didn't take very good care of people and dropping people on their necks and their heads and shit like that. There's no call for that. And I'll go into that story another time because we're running out of time here.
Sure.
No, not really, because I would like to think that I was professional enough and the person I was working with professional enough to say, hey, I'm going to lay you out flat. Just go up with me and feel good about it, So if I was going to answer of one thing I saw and I didn't want to do, and that would have been probably the Doomsday device. I was not a fan of that. It looked pretty fucking scary to me. So anytime you're going backwards, asshole over elbows backwards, you can't see what's behind you, how quick that mat's coming. You're going to hit pretty damn quick, So I'd pass on that one probably.
So. Yeah, I couldn't say as I blame you for that. And you had no problem getting in the ring with Scott Steiner. So
No, I didn't. So it is what it is. Scott and I got along just fine, and I had people waiting for me after that match to make sure I was okay, and I was. But Scott's just Scott, man. And hell, you got a job to do, you go in there and do it. And out of professional courtesy, without giving too much away, and we'll talk about that another time, he took care of me, so it was all good. It was all good, and got a paycheck out of it, and got some publicity out of it, and you're talking to a guy who got in a ring with fucking Scott Steiner, and here I'm telling you, I don't want to take the Doomsday device, but I probably fucking would have. What am I telling you? That's a fucking paycheck. So,
and I realize there's
no, but
that's what I was going to say. Is I realize that you don't, people didn't really ever really say no to things unless they were Shawn Michaels.
So, No, I don't know that I would have said no to it, but I would just hope that professional courtesy, and I think it would have been, because I used to speak to, being around some of these guys, it's how you present yourself. You're a grown fucking man. I didn't act like a kid. 30 years old, and I'm talking to these guys in the back or whatever. I wasn't marking out or anything like that. Not that I'm a mark sometimes, because I'm a fan just like, everyone else, but given the circumstances, the job we got to do in the ring, I would hope that professional courtesy would have been extended, like, hey, this is Bobby, lay him out nice and flat, And I told a story about that, and Pin Me, Pay Me. There's a story about a guy being hot, and I'll go into that another time too. We're running out of time here, but a couple guys, Barbarian and Ming, put the word in for me. Hey, Bobby's a good kid, take care of him. And the guy in question took care of me. So it's always good to have someone like Ming and Barbarian to have your back, So
yeah, absolutely.
I was just talking to Barbarian last Saturday. Like I said, we was talking about we used to play basketball together. Barbarian's a hell of a basketball player, believe it or not. He and I used to play basketball together quite a bit down in Florida. So he actually put the word in one time with Scott Flash Norton. He said, hey, take care of Bobby in the ring, and Flash did, and I was really thankful for that. So not any one particular move, but if I was going to name one, I guess it'd be your move, the devastation.
Doomsday device, yeah.
Yeah, I'll pass on that. How's that?
That works for me. All right, Bobby. Well, I got to get a bell sound effect because that would have been so much better if I said, "Oh, and that's the bell." We are desperately out of time, ladies and gentlemen. Bobby, would you like to say goodbye?
I would like to say goodbye. Jeremy, goodbye. Fans, thank you very much, and goodbye to you. And we'll talk to you very, very soon on the Bell to Bell Bobby Blaze podcast.
Bye, bye, everybody.
Self high five.